Hey everyone, PianoManChuck here. I'm here today with the Kurzweil K2700. This is a workstation, but it's actually a hybrid. It's sitting squarely between the PC series, the PC3, PC4, and the K series, K2600. So this is the next iteration of that. This is the K2700. Very, very, very powerful workstation. And it still supports a VAST, V-A-S-T, variable architecture synth technology, but can now chain independent layers together, which is really cool. And you got up to 32 layers per program now. And there's been even more capabilities added. Now, this is going to be basically an overview review of the operations and setup of this whole thing. If you're looking for samples and what they sound like, check the description below. I've got links to my previous reviews, which includes a ton of samples for a couple of different categories, so check that out. In the meantime, this has an 88-note weighted, it's not graded, it has aftertouch, it's a Fatar TP40L. And if you're a pianist and you're looking for graded action, don't worry about that. You're going to get that because the firmware makes up for that. And you've got 256 notes of polyphony, twice that of the forte. And you also have 256 notes of vast polyphony, which is more than 5 times greater than any previous model. Now there's 8 gigabytes of RAM in here. And the way that's broken down, it's broken down into 4.5 and 3.5 gigs of RAM. The 4.5 contains factory samples. You've got over 1,500 different samples in the factory over there, and you've got over 700 multis. The rest of the 3.5 gigabytes of RAM is for your own user samples, so you have no shortage of memory there at all. And of course, it has flash play so that you have 0 loading time. You just choose what you want to load and it's there, just like that. And now you have a 6-operator FM engine, and FM layers are a new addition to the vast programming capability. How cool is that? Now the effects engine, which has tons of effects, you can arrange that like modules, just like a guitarist arranges the effects pedals on their guitar rig. They can choose the order and all kinds of stuff. You can do the exact same thing over here. Now you've got 16 zones, 16 tracks, 16 MIDI CC sequences, 16 riff generators, which is really cool, and 16 note arpeggiators. And you can activate up to 16 independent arps or arpeggiators over here, 1 per program, 16 per multi, or use the step sequencer. As for physical dimensions over here, it's 51 inches in length by 15.5 inches in depth by 5.5 inches tall, which is really cool. And it's 52 pounds. And in typical Kurzweil fashion, this is built like a tank. This is metal. It's a metal case. Now the sides are plastic, but this whole encasing is metal. This is built like a tank, so you can gig with this no matter where you're going to be gigging. So let's go ahead and go through what all of these controls and switches and knobs and buttons and jacks and everything is all about. Let's start out with the back panel and get that out of the way. So on the back panel, you've got a headphone jack over here. That's a 1/4-inch TRS headphone jack. And next to that, you've got an audio interface. So you can take a microphone and hook that up into here. You've got a separate left and right input. And it's a combo jack. You can hook it up as a 1/4-inch line input, so you can take another keyboard or a mixer or something like that and put that line level in here. Or you can take a guitar, which is a high Z level, put that in here. You've got switches up here to tell it if you want to hook up a high Z or a mic or a line. And then there's XLR, so you can hook up a mic. And if it's a condenser mic, This will supply phantom power of 48 volts too. Now, here's a microphone that I hooked up. Let me turn this on. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and I've got controls. I can make it louder, softer, whatever I want to do. And I can have this as a dry signal, or I can actually use the effects on board and control things like reverb and delay and all kinds of other things here, which is really, really, really cool. And while I'm on that subject, you can also run USB cable from your DAW to this too, so you can have two-way communication between this and your DAW. You've got two separate audio outputs of left and right each. You can configure where whatever you're playing is going to go to where. Then you've got your input controllers, which are usually pedals. You got CC1 and CC2, or continuous controller 1 and 2. Those are usually things like expression pedals. Then you got switch 1, which is a sustain pedal, and I don't know why Kurzweil keeps calling it switch for sustain, because a switch is that. It's a switch, on or off, nothing in between. This actually takes half damper pedals, and a half damper is not a switch. It's actually variable. The farther you press it down, the more sustain. The less you press it, the less sustain. So it's variable. This will actually recognize that. So it's far from being just a switch. Now it does come with a switch pedal, and I happen to be using a Korg DS1H, which is a half damper pedal. Works just fine with this. Roland pedals will not work with this. Yamaha will not. You're going to have to go with a Kurzweil or a Korg pedal. Next to that is switch 2, which is true switch fashion, and that can control whatever you want. Then we have a brightness knob over here, and that can control the brightness of the LCD screen. Going on, you've got the USB connections, USB A and B, so you can connect to your computer, or you can hook up like a USB thumb drive to something like for memory. Standard legacy MIDI jacks in and out, and then your AC power. Okay, so now let's go through the front panel. You got your pitch and modulation wheels. Transpose, you can transpose a key up at a time or a key down at a time. Once you press one of these, you're transposed, and you'll see that it lights up. Very handy, especially in a dark venue, so that you know when you're transposing or not. Now you can press both of these together and it reverts back to the default with no transpose. Okay, I've already gone through the audio interface portion, which is super cool. I'm a very, very welcome addition here. Main gain speaks for itself. That's the overall volume of the instrument. Variation, that's a button over here. Basically, let's go into the piano section. That's a burnished piano. Now, if I press the variation button, I'm going to get something a little different. And you can hear it's different. It's layered with a pad. For all the 1,500 different sounds that are on here, that variation will bring a variation of whichever sound you happen to be tuned into. So another example, let's go into guitar and let's choose something like a steel string guitar. Now let's press variation. I think you can hear the difference there. Okay, next, we've got 9 knobs, 9 faders, and 9 buttons. Now, the way this is usually set up, if you're basically in any kind of a patch here, the first 4 knobs are set for EQ. As I rotate this, you'll see that it says knob 1, bass gain. So I'm increasing and decreasing the bass. The next 2 are mid. So here's mid gain and mid Q or mid frequency. Next one is treble gain. The next 3 vary depending on the program, and usually the last 2 is delay. Of course, I had to turn that on. If I don't turn it on, then I don't have delay. Okay, and the last one is reverb, real important one, especially for piano. So you have a lot of control over that. Now, when you're in organ mode, especially KB3, which is Kurzweil's organ mode, all of these faders and these bottom switches turn into organ control. So you've got the 9 organ stops over here, just like you'd have on a regular organ. And then you have the labels at the bottom telling you what these will do. The break, the on-off, the chorus vibe, depth, and so on and so forth. So you got some pretty nice control here. Moving on to these 4 buttons, you can select your channel or layer or zone or track with these up-down buttons. If you go ahead and edit something, you can go ahead and save it after. And the next is the screen. As you can see, now, the way I have it set up, you're looking at one thing at a time, but I can view this a different way. You see these over here, these 6 buttons, these are called soft buttons, and they point to whatever is labeled here. This last one is labeled view, so if I press it again, I get a different view. I can see what my quick access or favorite buttons are set to. Press it again, and now I can see the 4 programs immediately before and after what I currently have selected. So when I'm in a piano section, it's cool to see ahead or look ahead, see what's going on. But it's this view over here that shows you when you move what it is you're moving and what the amount is. So you have various different ways to look at this. And the rest of the soft buttons, octave minus, octave plus, split, layer, view. If I go into edit mode, then I have a whole bunch of other stuff here. Params, effects, layer effects, common, and more. It goes to the next set of screen effects. Key map, layer, arpeggiator, CC sequencer, another more, algorithm, DSP control, DSP mod, output, amp envelope, envelope 2, envelope 3, LFO plus, new layer, dupe layer, imp layer, del layer. It just goes on and on. You have so much control here. Then you've got the jog wheel and these navigation buttons over here, left, right, up, down, minus, plus, previous, next. They should all be self-explanatory, but just in case they're not, let's go back into this view here. So I can see the previous and following 4 different programs, and I can use the jog wheel to scroll between what I want to do. I can use the previous next, I can use the left right, I can use the up down, various ways to do these things. Then we got mode, program mode, which is what I'm in now, multi, song, and global. Now, global mode is usually the first thing I'll do once I immediately just first start this thing up for the first time. I like to set my key action. I like a lighter action. I usually don't like the default action. Maybe you like a heavier action, but whether you like heavy, light, or whatever, you're going to go into global mode. And what comes up, you'll see over here, you'll go to main 2, and you'll see the velocity map right there. It says light 2. That's what I like mine at. But if I go all the way down, I've got hard 1, hard 2, hard 3, piano touch, easy touch, GM receive, linear, light 1, light 2, light 3, and so on. So I like to keep mine at light 2. But there's so much more to global mode. You can see all the parameters here that you can change on main 1 and main 2. Then there's the effects and files, and it just keeps on going. There's more and more and more. So there is a lot to this baby. Anyway, we're in program mode now, and what that does is, you see this category section over here. You can see it's divided into like 12 different categories, 13 if you include miscellaneous, 14 if you include user. But here we've got piano, electric piano, clav, organ, strings, pad, synth, brass, wind, ensemble, hybrid, guitar, bass, and drum percussion. So I'm in piano right now. So everything that I use this jog wheel with, I can see what the different pianos are. Here's an upright. Or I can use the back button. If I go into electric piano, now I'm into the electric piano section. That's just one. There's a whole bunch of others, a little bit different, that are also compatible with the same song. Clavs. Organs. Strings. Pads. Synth. And so on and so forth. So you get the idea. You just pick the category you want. You go through all the samples. And again, you can hear a lot of these in another video that I did. Link in the description. Next one here in this column is multis. This is where you get to multi-samples. And in this particular one, you can see the pads over here. There's 16 pads. These are velocity sensitive. The lighter you strike them, the lower in volume they are. The harder you strike them, the more loud in volume they are. But this one's set up sort of as an arpeggiator. So when I'm playing something here, you can see it going right there. And if I go to another type of sample, you can see it going through its thing. I can start turning things off. That changes it right there. Song mode, this is where you get to your songs and sequencers. So you have a 16-track MIDI recorder here, and you can arm whichever track or tracks that you want to record and which you want to play back at the same time, and so on and so forth. It's pretty powerful. So check it out. Really powerful. I love it. This is basically can act as a scratch board for you. So you don't really need to have your computer around all the time. You can lay down your ideas with this. You actually could even do a full production with this, although it's easier to do it on a computer with a DAW. But if you don't have that, you can actually use this. Global mode I went through already. All right, then there's the Arpeggiator section over here. If I press ARP, whatever sequence I use my fingers in, let's go. A. It's playing the notes in order of how I press them. All right, then there's a latch button, so I can do the same thing and let go, and it keeps going. And then there's a CC sequence, so you can go ahead and set this up as a sequence as well. There's a tap button, so if you want the arpeggiator to be a certain tempo, you can tap to it, or you can use the knob and select the exact tempo. The transport control, again, is for song mode, and for the sequencer, regular transport buttons: stop, pause, play, fast forward, fast rewind, go to the beginning, record. And again, then you have this 600 millimeter ribbon control, which is so cool because you can use the entire ribbon. Let's turn off the arpeggiator. You can use the entire thing, or you can break it up into 3 independent, equal spaced ribbon controllers. And you're not limited to just pitch control like most ribbon controllers are. No, with this, you can actually control pitch, filters, volume, tempo, distortion, and more. And again, the entire length or 3 independent ones. And each one can be set up to do a completely different function. So that's basically a general overview of this board, the layout, the controls, the operation. Very general, but you can get so deep into this, it's unbelievable. So whether you're using this as an amateur or a pro, this will fit your need for whatever you're using it for. Home studio, live gig performance, creation tool, just about anything. I would highly recommend this. So if you're looking for something like this, check out my website and we can get you a decent price on this as well. In the meantime, go to the description and check out my other reviews, which basically include sound samples, and you're going to love it. PianoManChuck, hope this has been helpful for you. Peace out. Thanks for watching.